Good afternoon. In this video, we're going to go over this past week's trades and the weekly recap. Before I get into the recap, if you're not in the room, you can find the link in the description of the video and in my bio section of social media accounts. Also, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Now, I did finish the week with 22 wins and 3 losses for a win rate of 88%. So definitely pleased about that. Goal every week is 85% plus. I did meet that, exceeded that, so I'm pleased with that. I mean, my losses would have been less. I took a Roku ER gamble, so if I didn't take that gamble, which I don't usually play earnings at all, so if I didn't take that gamble, I would have only had 2 losses, so my stats would have been better. But I just wanted to do it just for fun. I thought, Roku was beaten down so much, I can't imagine that they'd miss, and yet they did, and it is what it is. But anyways, with that said, let's see. I don't even have my Twitter page pulled up yet. For Monday, which was what, the 31st, Halloween. Let's see. I had 5 wins on that day. I know I have shop up, but just for some reason, shop just ends up being the coming up. I don't know why, but anyways, 31st, the first play today was Amazon. Let me see the trade ideas room on the 31st. SPY puts under 386.50 and Amazon calls over 104. Is this Monday right here? No, right here. Now this is what I was looking at on Monday. We had the massive dump for earnings, came back halfway up. So I was thinking, okay, it gets over this Friday high of 10. Well, we could say 104. We rounded up that you could get a nice little play, could try to fill the gap. So that was my plan going into the day. I did break 104, and I took it as soon as I broke it. Amazon, I'm not afraid to take it right at the first 10-minute candle. SPY just ends up being a little tricky, but I did take 104 calls at 280, right at open, right at 930, and then went from 280 to 320, so got a nice little push on that. Then I took SPY puts at make sure I get the right day here. SPY puts at 947, which is right in this candle right here. Actually, no, it was down here. 947, yeah, got it in this candle right down here, right at the 200 EMA. At the 387 puts at $2.22, and they went from 222 to 265 in that little drop right there. Not much of a move. It stayed in a tight range on Monday. I mean, it just had a massive move. When you have these massive move up, usually the next day, usually after a huge move, that it will have a tight range day to kind of consolidate before it either ends up dropping or having more continuation. So it stayed in a small range. Then I ended up taking the SPX calls at 1107, which is right here. It dropped down, it tried to bounce back up, and it dropped down more. It didn't make new lows, but it came back up through VWAP again. Once it came up over this 387 area, this is where I ended up grabbing calls. I grabbed the 38.90 calls at 8.50, and they went from 8.50 to $10 in that little push right there. Then I ended up grabbing calls again at 11.24, which is right here, and it kind of rejected higher day and it pulled back. But when it came back up to higher day again, I grabbed the 3,900 calls at 6.90, and they went from 6.90 to 9.40 in that push up. Then I pretty much sat out, most of the middle of the day, and I took puts at 259, which is right here. You can see it's consolidating right here, right above VWAP, right when it broke below VWAP right here. This is where I grabbed the 38.75 puts at 550, and they went from 550 to 1280 right there, and it still stayed within the range. The low of the day is right around 385.40, stayed above that, and it just it stayed in a pretty nice area, you know, range. I mean, $3 range. I mean, I know $3 doesn't sound like much, but if you were trading back in the Obama era, your $3 range was pretty substantial. That was pretty volatile back then, because back when Obama was in office, SPY's trading range was really tight. It was like $1 to $2. Was considered a pretty good range, and extreme range was 3 to 5. So that's just the world we're in now, is that we're so used to the volatility being extreme volatility being $10 to $15 range, that a $3 range is very tight, which it's really not, considering what should say 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So before pre-Trump, it was like that. So with that said, that was Halloween the 31st. Now, November 1st, trade ideas room, I said Baba puts under 67 because Baba gapped up, and SPY puts under 389.50, which is rate 389.50 is this low right here. It kind of popped up a little bit. 390 is such a huge number, and plus it's 390s right here, and we went from what, 376 to 390, and it just was this the first right here? No. Yeah, right here. So it also double topped on the hourly rate at the 390 area. So I was looking at, you know, the double top and the big round number of 390, and this was a good area to grab it. So when it did break below that, I took puts right away. I got the 389 puts at 932. Didn't even wait for the first 10 minutes. I grabbed it as soon as it broke, because I was afraid if I waited the first 10 minutes, sometimes SPY puts in these $3 candles right at open, and then the next 10-minute candle, it ends up reversing or being a small candle, and that's when you end up getting trapped. So plus I was like, because we had such a huge run and there's such a huge gap between the price and the RCT trend line, that if it starts dumping, I'm taking it, because I don't want to chase down when it's already down $3 or $4 or $5. So I took it the opening candle. So 389 puts at 342, and they went from 342 to $6. I grabbed calls at 1003, which is right here, right at the 200 EMA for a little bounce. Got a nice little bounce out of that. Got the 3900 calls at 580. Let's see, they went from what, okay, wait a minute here. I'm trying to think what happened. 580. No, I took a loss. How did I end up taking a loss right here? 1003. It's possible I got it down here. For some reason I wrote 540, but yeah, I got it 580. For some reason, I don't know how I managed. This is 950. 10. I'll have to bring it down to the 3-minute candle so I can actually see on the first. 1003. Oh, I got it up here. Yeah, see, it dumped right there. Yeah, I got it right there, the 3900 calls. Go back to the 10-minute. I'm going to assume that I grabbed it for the 200 EMA bounce. Let me see what else is right there. Yeah, 200 EMA bounce, plus you have resistance right here at the 387 area. So I probably got it closer to right in here, right after the dumped right in here on me. So, but yeah, I got the 3900 calls at 580, and I ended up taking a loss. I think that was the first loss for the week. I'm stopping out at 380. So then I ended up getting calls at 1130. I didn't get it right there. I can see why I could have grabbed it right there on the support of Monday, but I didn't grab it there. I think that because of this nasty red candle, I was kind of afraid to step in the front. But I did grab it at 1130, which is right down here. I grabbed it. I grabbed, let's see, 3860 calls at 770, and they went from 770 to 940. So I must have got it down here and got it to pop up here. So then I ended up grabbing the 3860 calls again at 1157, which is right here. And let's see, I got the 3860 calls again at $7 this time, and then went from 7 to 1580, and that massive push up. So I've bought it down right up in here, because you can see the little wick, because it's able to get almost $2 out of it. And it was probably pretty close to at the money, so it doesn't take much. All it takes is like 10, 20, even 30 cents of movement on SPY to get a $2 move on SPX. So yeah, so then it would, because it dropped down here, the calls got cheaper. So I probably got it right in here, got that little move up right there. There was a reason else why I grabbed it here too. I'm not quite sure what it was. What day is this again? The first, which is right here. It could have been this area right here in the hourly, the 385. Yeah, because there's a lot of resistance right here, which is now support. This is why I grabbed it. And I think that there was another factor. It could have been the 50 EMA on the daily or something, but there was another factor why I grabbed it at 385, and I had no problem trying to reload it, because I don't really like to reload unless I think the bottom's in, and I did get a little pop here and reloaded and caught this. So but that was a good play though. That was a good play. Then I ended up grabbing what, Amazon at 1240. Let's see what Amazon was doing at 1240 on the second, no, the first, which is right here. Oh yeah, I remember grabbing this. I remember this play because all those red candles, and someone in the room mentioned that the RSI was like at ridiculously low, like 20 or something. I don't remember what it was exactly, but the RSI was really, really, really low. So because of that, I grabbed the Amazon 96 calls at 260, and they went from 260 to 325 in that little push right there. So I grabbed it right at 1240, which is right here, right there, and I got a nice little push on that. So that was a nice play. It was somebody in the room that called it out, and I looked at it and I liked it, so I jumped in and grabbed it. So that was ended up being a nice little play. I even thought about swinging it. So what would have happened if I did swing it? I'm just curious. I think, yeah, I wouldn't have. What day was that, the first? Yeah, that would have been a loss if I swung that. So I'm glad I did take it. That's why you got to take what the market gives you and not hold and hope. Then I took, let's see, SPX calls at 146, which is right here. I grabbed it right down here for some reason. Grabbed 3860 calls at $7 again. And they went from what, $7 to 10. Probably got it down here, or I caught it in that move right there. But nice little play. Not that bad so far. 5 wins, 1 loss. So can't complain about that. Now let's see, FOMC day. I didn't play until FOMC. I was not expecting this kind of a play with FOMC, because usually the last few plays, the last 4 or 5 FOMCs, what's been happening has been a small little dump, and it's just been a complete rage, and it never really dumped. So I was kind of thinking that, yeah, I was thinking that the FOMC is going to raise at 75 basis points. That I was pretty sure about. But I was thinking that they were going to change their tune and say, okay, we're going to stop reducing rates. We're going to start cooling things down. We're not going to raise rates as much anymore. We're going to dial it back a little bit. And I thought, okay, that's just going to send the market into a frenzy. And it didn't. Everything was fine. The market was doing good until Powell opened his mouth. And once he opened his mouth, and that's when everything just took a crap. So the FOMC's SPX strangle play I had was 37.80 puts at $8. And 39.10 calls at $9. So, and it dumped a little bit right there. I didn't take it. I thought about taking the puts. I should have. I think they were green a little bit, but I wasn't able to get out, so I just kept it. So this popped up, and when the 39.10 calls went from $9 to $17.50, I know I sold mine right around $15 plus. So I was happy about that, and I kept my puts. Then I ended up just dumping my puts eventually. I think I shouldn't have done that because they went in the money. They were like, if I remember correctly, they were like $25, $30 at the time. So I finally have held that. But like I said, the last 4 or 5 meetings, it has not done this. It's just been a small drop. Then it would just rage all day long. So I thought it was going to rage, and it didn't. So FOMC Strangle Plate ended up being a winner either way. I thought my puts at 255. And so I got out with a nice, fairly small win. So not too small, but, not spectacular either. So then I ended up grabbing 39.20 calls on SPX at, let's see, 227, which is right here, right at the lower day. I grabbed the 39.20 calls at 940, and they went from 940 to 1330. As you can see, it just dumped, popped back up, and just dumped again. Then I ended up playing 37.95 calls at 330, which is down here. I grabbed it right here. I grabbed the 37.95 calls at 680, and it dumped more, and I ended up adding more at 285, make my average 385. Didn't have a huge position, thinking that because we had such a massive dump, we were going to get an end of the day popped, and it didn't. It just dumped more. So I ended up taking a loss too. So this was the day that we had our Roku. So I took Roku. I took Roku calls, 55 calls at $5. I just grabbed a couple. I wasn't going to go anything with size because ER plays are literally a gamble. There's no rhyme or reason to even play them at all, let alone you just don't know what the ER is going to do. You could have good ER and bad guidance, or you just could have one of those ERs where it just goes up and down, it ends up going flat, and just ends up being an IV crush. But it popped up, then it just dumped, and it just stayed. I thought I was actually going to recover. The next day I had a nice run up, and just after that Friday it just took a dump, but ended up being a loss on that. So it is what it is. Now on Thursday, first play today was SPY SPX. Actually, in Trade Ideas room, I said on the third, SPY calls over 373. Is that what I said? Yeah, 373, which is right here, the high of this candle right there. Nice little area. It didn't. It decided to go green. It popped back up. I did pop up, but I went right in with calls right away. I didn't grab puts right here. I grabbed calls at 935. So as soon as it got over this area, I'm not quite sure why I did that. I didn't get to the 373 area, and I didn't wait the first 10-minute candle out. So when it dropped down and came back up, this is where I grabbed it right here. I guess it's assuming. I'm not quite sure why I did that, but it is what it is. I did grab it there at 37.50 calls at 770, and then went from 770 to 960 in that little pop before it got dumped. Then I grabbed calls at 1014, which is right here. When it came back up to high a day, to this 372 area, I grabbed the 3740 calls at 820, and then went from 820 to 1290. Then I ended up grabbing calls again at 1042, which is right here. So I got a little pop there, then it dumped, and I bought the pop here, pull back. Then when it came back up to here again, I grabbed calls again. This time was the SPX 3750 calls at $6, and then went from $6 to $10. Then it pulled back, and at 1204 I grabbed calls again, which is right here. Okay, you can see it pulled back. Tried to go underneath VWAP, got bought up. Tried to go underneath, got bought up. Came back up to this area. So when I got above the 372.40, That is where I grabbed the 3740 calls at 680, and they went from 680 to 1310. So that was a nice little play right there. Then I grabbed calls again at 1250, which is right here. Yeah, right there. You can see why it got to higher day, it pulled back, and it quickly came back to higher day again. So I thought for sure it was going to break through, and that's what I played for, and it did. Got the 3750 calls at 690, and they went from 690 to 970 in that little play right there. And then the last play was calls at 227, which is right here. I thought we were going to break out. I got it at 227, so I got it right here. So I got the 3740 calls at 780, and they went from 780 to 970 right in here. So yeah, I was definitely on the call side of this. This was really good plays. You know, the higher day, bought this, pull back, bought this breakout here, pull back, made all these little consolidation candles right here. I bought the breakout of this consolidation area, so I got that move. It pulled back, then I got this move where it broke out, and it pulled back to VWAP, and I got this little area right here. So nice little play on that. That Thursday was a nice smooth play. 6 plays, 6 winners, so I'm not going to complain about that. Now on Friday, my loss was I already went over Roku, so that was my only loss for Friday was the Roku ER. And I took SPX calls at 1013, which is right here. I'm going to broke higher day. Pull back, came back up. I grabbed it right here. I felt like I was chasing it, so I grabbed it anyways. I grabbed the 3790 calls at $8, and they went from 8 to 10. Then I grabbed puts at 1051, which is right here. After this big nasty red candle, I grabbed the 3765 puts at 720, and they went from 720 to 1050 in that little dump right there. Then I grabbed calls at 1152, which is right down here, PDC 1152, right down here. I grabbed the 3740 calls at 880, and it went below PDC, and I added more at 480, making my new average 580. And they ended up going from 580 to 1180, so that was a nice little add right there. That was actually a really good add, and I was kind of surprised at this move, how it just popped, and when he lost everything within what was it? What's the time frame? 10:50, an hour and 15 minutes. We lost the whole day's range from 379. He lost, that's 9 points in an hour. That's kind of crazy, but we got this little bounce right here off from PDC, which is this white line, which is previous day's close. Then I took the last play at 218, which is right here. As you can see, every time it gets below the PDC line, it gets bought. It got bought, dipped below for a minute, got bought, dipped below, got bought, and once it broke over this area right here, 372, you get all this consolidation candle. I love seeing these kind of candles. Timing them when they're going to break out is pretty hard, but they do end up doing pretty good. It gives you nice little areas to work off from. And I was watching the 372 area because that's above all the highs of these candles. So if it broke above that, it was going to take off. So I had the 3720 calls at $9, and they went from $9 to $27.90 with 200% play on that. So we held all the way through. So that ended up being a good win on at the end of the day on Friday. So a good week. Definitely was a good week. Hopefully next week will be just as good. There's a lot of stuff going on next week, elections, midterms, so hopefully volatility will be crazy. So we'll go over that on the watch list. But anyways, that's going to do it for the recap. I hope this has helped you understand why I took the plays and the process behind it and what I was thinking. So that's going to do it. Thanks for watching.